Kaulig Racing announces that they're going full-time Cup Series racing in 2022. We have a lot of throwback paint schemes to take a look at today, and the 2021 AllStar race format has officially been revealed, and it is absolutely confusing. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got a lot of NASCAR stories to discuss here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight to it. We're going to go ahead and start off all the throwback paint scheme reveals that we've seen in the last 24 hours. So let's go ahead and start off with William Byron's 2021 throwback scheme. He's got Valvoline on the car for this weekend. This is a throwback to Neil Bonnet. I like that William Byron's taking a creative effort because it seems like the 24 car, they generally ran a lot of Jeff Gordon throwbacks with the flames and all that stuff. I like that they're taking a different creative approach to the car and they're throwing back to Neil Bonnet. In this paint scheme, they did a really good job. It's really, really accurate, and I think that it's going to be great to see out on the racetrack. It's going to be one of my favorite ones we've seen so far, and I'm definitely looking forward to see this paint scheme here next week at Darlington. The next throwback paint scheme we're going to be taking a look at is Martin Truex Jr.'s 2020 throwback. This basically is his auto owner's car with the front row black matte scheme that they ran basically at the beginning. They're basically kind of like throwing it back to that. I was really confused when they revealed this one. It's not a terrible scheme, in my opinion, but I just feel like it's really, really confusing. I don't really like the blue numbers on the car. I think they tried a creative approach on it, and it wasn't as good as they thought it was going to be. It's not a bad paint scheme, in my opinion. It's not the worst throwback I've seen so far this year. But I definitely think they could have done a lot better job on this throwback paint scheme, to be honest with you. But again, like I mentioned, this is not the worst one that I've seen so far this year, by the way. The next throwback paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Jeremy Clements' throwback paint scheme. It's a throwback to Dale Jarrett's UPS scheme from 2006. This one is one of my favorite ones I've seen so far, and I definitely might be getting a die cast of this one if this is able to be produced. They did a really good job on this scheme as well. I think Jeremy Clements has been really, really good in Xfinity so far, and I think that they did a really good job. This is an awesome tribute to Dale Jarrett. I think they did a great job on this one. The next throwback paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Chase Purdy's throwback. It is a throwback to Davey Allison's 1981 car, which, very interestingly, that was also the number 23 car as well. Again, I think they did a really good job on this paint scheme. Hopefully, Chase Purdy can have a great run. I think they did an awesome job. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this paint scheme here next week here at Darlington International Speedway. The next throwback paint scheme we are going to take a look at is the first of two Timmy Health throwbacks, which he will be, the first one is the Truck Series throwback. He is throwing it back to Kenny Irwin Jr. when he ran in the Truck Series at the beginning of his career back in like 1997 and 1998, which I think they did a really good job on this one as well. It looks awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to see it because, again, the colors look really, really awesome on this car, by the way. The other Timmy Health throwback paint scheme that got revealed was a throwback to Rusty Wallace's 2004 Busch Series car when he ran in the Busch Series a couple times. 2004 when he drove the 6.6, I think it was for Bruco Motorsports. He drove a 6.6 throwback. This one looks awesome. It looks really, really accurate. It also kind of gives me Stephen Wallace vibes when he drove for Rusty Wallace Racing, when he drove for them for quite a few years. I think they did a really awesome job on this throwback paint scheme, and I'm definitely looking forward to see this for sure here next week at Darlington. The next throwback paint scheme we are going to go ahead and take a look at is Jordan Anderson's throwback scheme for the Truck Series race at Darlington. He is throwing it back to Larry McReynolds' first time crew chiefing for Mark Martin in the Cup Series. Before he crew chiefing for all his other guys at Robert Yates Racing, he started crew chiefing for Mark Martin, and I think they did a really awesome good job on this paint scheme as well. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this throwback paint scheme out on the racetrack here very, very soon. The next throwback paint scheme we are going to go ahead and take a look at is Zane Smith's throwback scheme, which is a throwback scheme to Glenwood's 1957 car. They did a great job on the paint scheme. The colors are accurate and they match up really, really well. And I'm looking forward to seeing this throwback paint scheme here next week. I think GMS has had some pretty good throwbacks, also some not great throwbacks, but I think they did a really good job on this throwback paint scheme as well. The next throwback paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Eric Almirola's throwback. It's a throwback to Mark Martin's Winn-Dixie car when he drove in the Busch Series in the 1990s and in 2000 as well. I think they did a really good job on this throwback as well, and I'm definitely looking forward to see this paint scheme here at Darlington next week. And the final throwback paint scheme we are going to take a look at is Bailey Curry's throwback in the Xfinity Series. He is throwing it back to that the gray silver one, the one that Bobby Allison drove back in the 1980s. I think in 1981, as a matter of fact. It looks really, really awesome. I think it's a really good throwback. And hopefully Bailey Curry can get some good runs for sure with this car. It looks really, really sick, and I'm definitely looking forward to see this throwback here later this year. And now we're going to jump onto all the other paint scheme and sponsor news over the last couple of days. Well, the stuff that's not associated with throwback paint schemes. And there's a lot of them to talk about today for sure. The first one we are going to go ahead and take a look at is going to be Coil Joy's Nation Guard scheme that we will see this weekend here at Kansas Speedway. Now, Nation's Guard has already been on one of the Spire cars, the 77 car, but that was when Justinnelly drove the car. Now they're going to be on Coil Joy's car. It's very, very similar to what Kyle Larson's ran and Justinnelly's ran, so I really don't have much to say about the scheme, but I actually did like the Nation's Guard scheme that both of the other drivers ran. I think the Spire's a little bit better, though. It looks real awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to see that paint scheme out on the track at Kansas Speedway. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is McMillan Celsius scheme that we're going to see this weekend at Kansas Speedway. Celsius, for those who don't know, is an energy drink company, and I think that Live Fast Motorsports has overall done a really good job on their paint schemes this year, and there is no exception to this one. This one looks awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to see it out on the tracks. I think they did a really good job on this paint scheme for sure. It definitely looks really, really exciting to see. There's been a lot of good ones for them, and I think they did a great job in a lot of the modern schemes they've done. This one's no exception. It looks really awesome. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Bubba Wallace's 2021 Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar scheme that we are going to see this weekend at Kansas Speedway. They're also expected to be on the car for Darlington as well, so we're probably going to be getting a throwback here very, very soon for Bubba. I'll be honest with you, I like the scheme somewhat. It's not my favorite 2311 scheme. I think some people are really overhyping the scheme, to be honest with you. So I've definitely seen better schemes from 2311 so far. I think it's one of my least favorite that we've seen so far from 2311 up to this point. It's not a bad scheme, in my honest opinion, because there's been definitely some really bad schemes, but I was really expecting more in the car. I think they did a great job keeping the number 23, kind of similar to what BK Racing did. It kind of gives me those BK Racing flashbacks. Again, I wasn't a big fan of BK Racing, but it kind of gives me those BK Racing flashbacks. Hopefully, it will give him a good run this weekend at Kansas, but Dr. Pepper sponsoring Bubba Wallace. I think this is actually the final sponsor for Bubba Wallace that needs to be revealed on their paint scheme. So it's great to see that Dr. Pepper is revealed. And I'm definitely looking forward to see how it will help Bubba Wallace perform here this upcoming race at Kansas Speedway. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Ross Chastain's Moose Fraternity scheme that we are going to see at Dover International Speedway. Moose Fraternity has sponsored Ross Chastain in the past. I think he sponsored him last year in Xfinity, if I remember correctly, if I'm not mistaken. And they're jumping on him this weekend. I think it looks awesome. Make the black and the red really mesh together very, very well. And it's a nice paint scheme for sure. The colors look awesome on the car. And I'm definitely looking forward to see this car out here on the racetrack at Dover International Speedway. The next paint scheme of sponsor news we're going to take a look at is Justinnelly's 2021 Trucks in Knoxville scheme that we are going to see this weekend at Kansas Speedway as they are promoting the Knoxville Truck Series race. This car has basically already ran, but it was with Coil Joy. Again, it's like they're basically swapping the cars with the Nation's Guard for the 7, and now they're running the Trucks in Knoxville with the number 77. I really don't have much to say about the scheme since we ran it with Coil Joy, but you can hear my thoughts on that episode, but I think it literally looks awesome, by the way. I think they did a great job on this paint scheme. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Tyler Reddick's 2021 Children's Vineyard scheme that I believe we're going to see this weekend at Kansas Speedway. Similar to the Moose Fraternity scheme, it's got the black and red on the car, but I think that Rich Schultz Racing has had a lot of good paint schemes so far this year revealed, and I think that this paint scheme looks awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to see it out on the racetrack here this upcoming weekend at Kansas Speedway. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Ryan Preece's 2021 Nature Valley scheme that we're going to see this weekend here at Kansas Speedway. I'm not a big fan of this paint scheme, to be honest with you. I don't think the colors match 100% very, very well. It's not my least favorite one that Ryan Preece even had this year. I think they did an okay job, in my opinion, but I'm not really a big fan of the scheme. Maybe we'll give it some good luck. I really don't know. But, man, I'm not a massive fan of this paint scheme. That's just my honest opinion on that paint scheme. And the next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Brad Keselowski's 2021 Verizon 5G car that we are going to see this weekend here at Kansas Speedway as Verizon 5G is sponsoring Brad Keselowski this season. This one is awesome, by the way. It looks really, really cool, and I definitely think that Brad Keselowski's, this Verizon car has sponsored Brad Keselowski passed back in 2010. They're back on the car for sponsor. They've also sponsored Austin Cindric this year. I think they did a really good job on the paint scheme, and I'm definitely looking forward to see that paint scheme out on the racetrack this upcoming weekend here at Kansas Speedway. And now we're going to jump onto all the other major stories that we need to discuss on today's episode. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. Let's start off with the Better Half Dash, as the Better Half Dash is going to be returning this year in 2021. Keep this in mind, though, this time around, they are going to be on iRacing this time on June 10 at 6 p.m. Eastern on racing on FS1 on NASCAR Race Hub. So the drivers that are going to be competing in this are Kelly Earnhardt Miller, Kristen Labonte, Morgan Bell, Marissa Briscoe, Megan Smith, Jenna Petty, Tammy Rice, Julia Piquet, Jennifer Self, Carissa Flores, and Alexis De Leon. Now, keep one thing to note is that Jennifer Self won the last time we raced on the Better Half Dash. She did not run it last year because of COVID-19, if I'm not mistaken. They are bringing it back this year in 2021. There's definitely some people that I think you definitely need to keep your eyes on for this event. I'm definitely going to check out this event for sure. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the iRacing events that I've been having, but I do like that they're bringing the Better Half Dash back. I think it's cool to see. And also the drivers, the NASCAR Cup Series drivers, and all the people involved are going to be able to get coached as well. I'm definitely looking forward to this for sure, though, and I will definitely check it out here very, very soon. And now we're going to jump onto the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about the starting lineups for this weekend's race here at Kansas Speedway. So let's start off with the Truck Series starting lineup. Is John Nemechek is going to be starting on the pole for the Truck Series race. Can't remember what the Truck Series race is called. I think it's like the Wise Power 200 or 300, if I'm not mistaken. He is going to be starting on the pole for that, and Kyle Busch is going to be starting on the front row. Even though John Nemechek has been able to so far beat Kyle Busch in multiple weeks, I'm going to be picking Kyle Busch to win this weekend here at Kansas. Kyle seems to be really, really strong in the mile and a half, and he won Atlanta Motor Speedway recently, beating John Nemechek. I'm going to be picking Kyle Busch to win the race, and that's your starting line for the Truck Series. And now let's jump to the Cup Series, because Brad Keselowski won at Talladega, is going to be starting on the pole. My pick to win that is going to be Denny Hamlin, as Denny Hamlin has been really close to winning races here throughout the year. Plus, he's won year 2 the last 3 times have been at Kansas Speedway. I think that Denny Hamlin is going to win this weekend here at Kansas International Speedway. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about Bailey Currey once again. As Bailey Currey is going to be racing in the Truck Series race at Kansas Speedway in the number 45 for Nice Motorsports, replacing Moffitt for this weekend's race. It looks like Brett Moffitt, since he's been declared to go full-time in the Xfinity Series and cleared his points for the Xfinity Series, it looks like that he's going to be basically not running as much trucks this year with Nice Motorsports. It's not been confirmed how many races Brett Moffitt is going to run for the rest of the year. We know he's not going to be running in the Triple Truck Challenge races, but it looks like they might be cutting back the races. There's been rumors behind the scenes that Brett Moffitt might not be running anymore with Nice Motorsports really at all the rest of the year, but I think he's going to be cut back to some races this year. But Bailey Currey was supposed to run quite a few races this year with Nice Motorsports. I think Bailey Currey is a very, very talented driver. He's done pretty well so far at Mike Harmon Racing, as he's not been up front and contending for wins in the Xfinity Series so far, and even the Truck Series. But he's been able to outperform equipment, especially with Mike Harmon Racing so far. So I think that this is definitely a really good acquisition to pick up for Nice Motorsports. I think the goal for him is to try to finish at least in the top 10 or the top 15. Keep him in the 100 points hunt for sure, and try to get as good of a run as they can for Nice Motorsports. Give him the best run. If you got a top 10 with this team, that would be really, really cool. But I think with the competition in trucks this year, I think the goal is to try to at least get a top 15 or a top 20, especially since Nice Motorsports and the competition is a little bit stronger this year. That should be the goal for him going forward. I think that should be the honest and sincere goal going forward. And now we're going to jump on to the first of 2 major stories in today's episode, as we are talking about Kaulig Racing. It was confirmed earlier today on NASCAR Series M Radio that Mike Bagley reported, and Matt Kaulig confirmed today on NASCAR Series M Radio that Kaulig Racing is officially going up full-time to the Cup Series in the 2022 season. A driver has not been announced at this current moment. They're at least going to run one full-time car in the 2022 season, but there is a chance that they may end up going to 2 full-time cars in 2022 because they do have enough funding for that apparently, and they might just run a second car that is on a part-time basis. I cannot tell you how excited I am for Kaulig Racing, but this is not surprising. There's been rumors going on since about October or September of last year that there have been rumors going on that Kaulig Racing has been planning to go to full-time Cup racing here in the foreseeable future, and they wanted to go up to Cup. Let's talk about the trajectory of Kaulig Racing, because in 2016 they formed, when had Blake Cook driving for them in 2016, and they were able to almost make it to the Final Four in their first year's competition. 2017 they returned. I believe they made the playoffs in the Xfinity Series. 2018 they picked up Ryan Truex. They got the most top 10s they ever had in a year, and they were pretty solid and pretty successful that year, but they did not pick up a win. 2019 is where things began to change for Kaulig Racing, as they expanded to actually have 1 car, and at points sometimes 2 full-time cars, and actually 1 full-time car, and at some points 2 cars and even 3 cars looking at Daytona. They won their first race of the organization with Ross Chastain, and then one, I think, later that year, Charborough with AJ Allmendinger. And in 2020, they expanded to a 2-car operation with Ross Chastain and Justinnelly. Justinnelly won 3 races and made the Final Four. Ross Chastain did not win a race here, but he's super consistent. And in this year, in 2021, they expanded to 3 full-time car operations, where so far AJ Allmendinger has been able to win at Las Vegas, and Judd Burton just won this this past weekend at Talladega Superspeedway when Justinnelly's been really consistent. They've also been jumping up to the Cup Series and ran 3 races so far, 2 times at Kaz Grala. Kaz Grala's had 1 top 10 with them this past weekend at Talladega. AJ also ran at the Daytona Road Course where he picked up a top 10 as well, and also they were able to make the Daytona 500. Kaulig Racing said they're also looking to be super, super competitive as well, and I cannot tell you that it's no surprise they wanted to jump up the Cup. They want to become a very, very top-tier team, and I think they're going to be able to be a very competitive team, but the big question is, are they going to be able to acquire a charter going forward? That is the big question. Now, where do they get the charter? Because they're probably going to need a charter to jump up the Cup. I honestly think that they're going to pick up, there's 2 drivers that they are looking at currently at this moment right now. I know a lot of people would like to see AJ get an opportunity to jump up full-time in Cup and drive for their team because he is a veteran of the Cup Series, has a lot of experience. Personally, if they are going to run 2 cars next year, though, I think if they're going to go part-time, I think they'll put AJ in that second part-time car to give experience to the young drivers. But there's 2 main drivers that I look at right now. The first one is going to be Justinnelly. Justinnelly has driven for Kaulig Racing since 2019 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Like I mentioned, he's won 3 races with them and has been driving for them for 3 years and drives the 11th flagship car. So he's been with this team for quite some time. He also does have quite a little bit of Cup experience as well. He's ran quite a few races this year and also was the first driver to drive for them back in 2020. The second driver is Kaz Grala. Now, Kaz Grala, like I mentioned, has ran 2 Cup Series races this year, but he's also in 3 of the 3 Cup starts he's had. He also drove the number 3 car for Austin replaced when Austin had COVID-19 last year. He drove the number 3 car for them and was able to get a top 10 and led laps in his first career start, was pretty successful in his first career race. So those are the 2 drivers that are the main drivers in consideration. So who do I think is going to be driving the 16 full-time for them? So it's probably going to be a 16 car. My heart really wants Kaz to drive the car. I think Kaz Grala is an absolutely very, very talented driver. I think he absolutely deserves this. He's been pretty solid so far in his time in the Cup Series. But I think they're going to choose Justinnelly just because of the fact that Justinnelly's been driving for Kaulig Racing for 3 or 4 years. Plus, he does bring own funding and sponsorship. Look at the FOE and other sponsors he's been able to bring. I just feel like they're going to be confident here and say, I think that they're going to choose Justinnelly to go full-time with them. But I think that Kaz Grala is going to end up going over to 11 car and driving full-time Xfinity Series and then jumping up to Cup on a part-time basis. As I think that second Kaulig car, if they are going to do 2 cars, I think that they will have Kaz Grala and AJ Allmendinger do the same thing they basically have done. I think that is what's going to happen. I think Kaz Grala deserves a full-time opportunity in Xfinity. He's shown what he's been able to do. He's won a Truck Series race. I think that he should get an opportunity to at least run in the Xfinity Series full-time, if not go full-time. But I think that that's how it's going to work. I think they're going to choose Justinnelly to be the full-time driver for Kaulig Racing. But I can tell you what, I'm super excited. I think the goal for Kaulig Racing should be realistic, though, when they go at the Cup. If they have that same alliance as RCR, I think they have a shot at being somewhat competitive. But we have to be kind of realistic with them and not jump up the gun like we did with 2311 Racing because we gave a lot of unrealistic expectations. But they do have some Cup experience, so they're definitely a team that we could be watching for going down the road. They want to be super competitive. But we'll have to watch and see what happens. But yeah, very, very exciting news for sure that Kaulig Racing is going to be jumping up to the Cup Series full-time in 2022. I can definitely not wait for that for sure. And now we're going to jump on to the final story of today's episode, as we're talking about the All-Star race format. Now, before we jump into this part, I just want to say there is a lot of information to go over, and this format is absolutely confusing. So strap yourselves in, because there is a lot to go over. So let's jump into this year's All-Star format. The race is going to feature 6 rounds totaling 100 laps. That means that there's going to be 6 stages in this All-Star race, because we needed more stages apparently in this race. Starting lineup for round 1 will be determined by a draw. Sometimes what they did last year makes a little bit of sense. Rounds 1 through 4 are going to be 15 laps each. Round 5 is going to be 30 laps. Is going to be the bulk of it. And round 6 is going to be 10 laps. Field will be inverted at the beginning of round 2 in a random draw as well. They're going to invert, I think, like minimum of 8-12. They're going to invert some of the field right there. The random draw will be able to be seen on Big Hoss TV, I think, for all the rounds as well, starting with round number 2. Round 3 is going to be inverted. The whole field is going to be inverted. Round 4 is going to be field, once again, is going to be inverted by a random draw. So they're once again inverting the field. Round 5, basically how they're going to determine it is going to be a cumulative finish of round 4 by your finishing position. And it's going to be a mandatory pit stop that is going to have to take place during round 5. Now, round 6 is going to finish, the finishes of round 5 is going to be a termination of round 6. Only green flag laps are going to count. The fastest team on pit road is going to earn $100,000. The winner is going to end up getting $1 million. And by the way, they're also running a little bit, basically running the 2018 package as well, and running a 510 horsepower car with 5764s on the taper spares as well. They're lowering the horsepower and they're running the 2018 package that they ran at Charlotte. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack from all that, to be perfectly honest with you. I can understand what NASCAR is trying to do. Texas races have absolutely been boring, and they've been trying to do something different with the race. I do think that gimmicks are somewhat fine, especially with the All-Star race. But they put the kitchen sink and everything in this thing. I mean, they literally brought everything into this All-Star race. You've got live pit stops. You got money going to live pit stops. You got the pit stop challenge back in this. You've got inverted fields and algebra calculations in this thing. It's just absolutely nuts and wild. I just wish that we could go back to simplicity. I understand, like I said, Texas racing has not been great, to be perfectly honest with you, since they went to the configuration it went to, where they made basically the banking where you can't pass it all, but you'll be able to at least pass, and it'll be stupid, you know? But I feel like that this race in this format is more confusing in 2016. You've got inverted, where, like I said, algebraic calculations are happening. The thing is just makes absolutely no sense to me. I feel like that this race is going to be a shit show. I think that we're going to see a lot of stupidity in this race. I'm definitely looking forward to see the shit show, to be honest with you. I think that the race is going to suck. I really think so. I want to be optimistic. I'm a lot of times trying to be as optimistic as I can be. But I can't really be optimistic about this, guys. I really can't. I think that we're going to see a crapshoot of a race. I really don't know what NASCAR is trying to do here. I really, really don't. I just wish we could go back to where, with $1 million, I just wish we can go back to where an all-star race didn't mean anything. And at this point, I hope at some point the NASCAR thinks about getting rid of the all-star race. I know the all-star race has been around for 35 to 40 years, but I just think in all sports in general, we should just get rid of the all-star events completely and just get through the season. I think people in general are resenting and getting tired of these all-star events, and I know that NASCAR, I think, has the best all-star event, except this year. I think that this event really is gimmicky. It's extremely gimmicky. I mean, Texas did everything bigger. I just don't really know how to feel about this. So, be honest with you, I'm just more confused than anything why we have to run a tapered spacer stronger. I don't know. I don't perfectly get it, to be honest with you. It makes no sense, and its format makes absolutely no sense, and I'm absolutely confused. But we'll see what happens in June. I guess it's the format. So, anyway, that is going to be for today's NASCAR news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications so you be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my Patreon as well. Link description below for that, and comment your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts about this year's All-Star format? Do you like this All-Star format, or do you think, like me, it's pretty stupid, the format is? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts about Kaulig Racing going full-time in 2022? Who do you think is going to be the driver that's going to drive for them in the 2022 season? Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like so YouTube can recommend today's most videos out to you guys. Do that. I greatly and truly appreciate it. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.